In some 35 years of helping health club owners and executives improve the performance of their business and the quality of their life, which, by the way, is the mission of REX, we've discovered that there are three separate agendas that need attention. There's some overlap, but they're rather distinct, and it often turns out that the second or third agenda gets a certain amount of neglect because it's not quite as obvious. So let's take a look at what these three agendas are about. So the first agenda is developed through industry owners and executives. It's based on their experience in the industry about what makes a successful business. And this is captured in industry association conferences and publications. Go to any industry and it's filled with presentations and articles about the first agenda, about how to make the business succeed. It's how to drive your business for performance. And what we've discovered in REX, working with over 200 health clubs, plus many other small businesses and other industries, is that once you drive that first agenda hard, there tends to be a plateau. And everybody thinks that performance could be stronger, but we're doing everything we can with all of the industry knowledge that we have. Thus comes the second agenda. Notice that it's not visible, and so it's a hard one to identify. Now let's look over on the right hand of the slide here. This comes from our experience in 34 different industries over 45 years of looking for the missing ingredient when businesses are doing well in the first agenda, but they're not quite at the potential you think they could have. And this information tends to be captured in business journals and books, and REX reads about 8 MBA journals regularly and 10 books a month. It's also captured in conferences like the Small Giants Conference and the Great Games of Business Conference, and on REX safaris, where we take our roundtables to visit businesses that are really outside of our industry because they're doing something really powerful and unique. This second agenda is about designing your organization for traction. It's not about marketing. It's not about operations. It's not about all the things that show up in a normal conference for your industry or a normal industry publication or even in most industry consultants. This is about looking at the organization as a whole. And you can look at our presentation on the second agenda for the 7 elements in this agenda. But once again, we found in our consulting firm that companies doing well on the first and second agenda still felt like there could be better performance. Something was not there. And thus we create the third agenda. The third agenda is the most difficult to see. It comes from outside the business world, or at least outside the business world until the last maybe decade or so. And it comes from the endeavors of human development, philosophy, and spiritual development. These generally have not been a part of the business world, but more and more we're finding that it's pretty easy to figure out the first agenda, and there's a lot of information about the second agenda, and moving up into this third agenda is where we can make a huge distinction in the marketplace about our business. This stuff is captured in executive leadership research and such things as executive blind spots. The third agenda is about how to grow yourself and your leaders to accelerate your performance. It's very intense, it's very personal, it's kind of linked into the organization's culture to some extent, but it's much deeper than that. It has to do with the stages of adult development. And being able to move a leader's stage of adult development up a notch or two enables a whole different range of things to happen. One place just to look for fun is in Bo Burlingham's book, Small Giants, Companies That Choose to Be Great Instead of Big. And these are businesses where I believe the leaders have moved significantly into the third agenda. And that has shaped how they run the whole business. And they use a very different way of running the business, which is why they're small giants, businesses that choose to be great instead of big. So if you look on the left-hand side of the pyramid here, X is the amount of effort you put in, and Y is the benefit you get. You put this much effort into improving marketing, you get this much benefit. You put this much benefit or effort to improve your KPIs, you get this much benefit. Now, when we move into the second agenda, Y gets squared. And what that means is there's a multiplying factor. You put in this much effort, and you get this much result. The effort is squared. So there's a lot of leverage here. And it's kind of fun to think about because the second agenda is often invisible. Yet that's the place where you get the most bang for your buck. Now, of course, you can't go to the second agenda until you've kind of cleaned up your act in the first agenda. Now let's look at the third agenda. Y is cubed. You put in this much energy, and now you get this much result. Very high leverage. So that's one of the reasons that going up in these agendas should be appealing to you, because less effort, in a sense, less time, more results. If you've looked at the life cycle curve of growth, or the S curve, which is in our video about change, it has this kind of a growth and it kind of plateaus. Now, one of the ways of jumping to the next curve of growth is to move into the second agenda, which means you're letting go of just thinking of your business as a bunch of departments and a bunch of people, and now you're beginning to think and work on your organization as a whole. It's kind of like in the medical world. In the first agenda, we have lots of offices of specialists. We have the dentist, we have the foot doctor, we have the heart doctor, we have the internal medicine, we have the colon doctor, we have the lung doctor, we have the brain doctor. And those are all important things. But the question is, who takes care of you as a whole person? That's what we're talking about in the second agenda, the whole organization. And you address the whole organization very differently than any one of those single specialty departments. Once again, as you get through that growth curve of putting the second agenda in place in your organization, you'll find that you begin to plateau. And now, moving into the third agenda gives you another opportunity for growth. Those two circles are the transition points that are described in more detail under the change video. These are tumultuous different times. It's almost like you're learning a new language every time you move up one of the agendas. So working in all three of those agendas is what Rex Roundtable does to help improve the performance of your business by driving the performance, giving it traction in the organization, and then transforming the people in the organization. If you're interested in getting involved in a roundtable, do let us know using the contact information on this slide.